Risk is a strategic board game for 2 to 6 players where the goal is to conquer the world. Players take turns deploying armies, attacking opponents' territories, and fortifying their positions. The winner is the last player to control territories after all others have been eliminated. The following rules are for a 3 to 6 player game. The pieces. In Risk, we have the world board, 42 territory cards, 5 dice, colored army pieces represented by infantry, cavalry, and artillery. Setup. Choose a color and count out your initial armies. An army is represented by 1 infantry. The number of starting armies each player places at setup depends on how many people are playing. In a 3-player game, each starts with 35 armies. In a 4-player game, 30 armies. In a 5-player game, 25 armies. And in a 6-player game, 20. Determine who goes first by highest dice roll. The first player takes 1 infantry piece from their pile and places it onto any territory on the board, thus claiming that territory. Moving clockwise, players take turns placing 1 army onto any unoccupied territory. Continue around the table, 1 territory at a time until all 42 territories have been claimed. And the territories are the country things. After distributing 1 army per claimed territory, players continue in the same order, placing 1 army at a time into any territory they control. Lastly, shuffle the risk cards and put them in a pile. Gameplay. On each turn, a player has 3 distinct phases: reinforce, attack, and fortify. Number 1, reinforcement phase. Count how many territories you control and divide by 3. Ignore fractions. This is the base number of new armies you receive. If you have 16 territories, that gives you 5 new army pieces. If you have less than 9 territories, you get 3 armies no matter what. If at the start of your turn you control an entire continent, you receive bonus armies as listed on the board. If you've collected the right risk cards, you may turn in a set of risk cards for armies. Place those now. Now distribute all your new armies along your territories before proceeding, but only in your own controlled territories. Turn action 2, attack phase. This is optional, but Risk is about world domination, not world friend making. To attack, choose a territory you control that borders an enemy territory and declare how many armies you're using. Borders are the lines in between adjacent territories. Note that these dotted C lines count as borders between these 2 territories. And the board loops between Russia and Alaska because it's a game of global domination. Since you're invading, put your armies into their territory during the attack. Attackers must make sure to keep at least 1 army behind, as you can't leave any of your territories empty. During battle, both the attacker and defender roll dice. The attacker rolls up to 3 dice if attacking with at least 3 armies. The defender rolls up to 2 dice if defending with at least 2 armies. Meaning if I was attacking with 3 or more armies, I could roll with up to 3 attack dice. If I was just attacking with 2 armies, I could roll 2 dice and 1 die if it was a single army, which would be foolish. The defender rolls just a single die if they only have 1 army on their territory, and 2 dice if they have 2 or more armies there. Both sides first announce the number of dice they'll roll, and then roll the dice at the same time. Compare the highest dice from each side. The lower result loses 1 army. Then compare the second highest dice if the defender rolled 2 dice. A second army is also lost to the higher roll. If there is a tie, the defender wins no matter what, and the attacker loses an army per tie. Defeated pieces go off the board and into the stock. You can continue to attack the same or different adjacent territories as many times as you wish in your turn, or stop at any point. The attacker can move more armies in from the attacking territory in subsequent attacks, but the defender can only defend with the armies in their attacked territory. If you conquer an enemy territory, eliminating all their defending armies, you must move at least as many armies as you used in that final battle roll into the newly acquired territory. You can move more if you'd like, but you must keep at least 1 of your armies in the territory you attacked from. Fortification phase. This is also optional. Now you may move armies from 1 territory you control to another adjacent territory, but you can only do this once per turn. You must also leave an army behind from the territory you moved from. Risk cards and sets. If you conquer at least 1 enemy territory on your turn, you draw 1 and only 1 risk card. 3 matching risk cards, or 1 of each symbol, can be traded in at the start of a future turn by any player for bonus armies. There are also 2 wilds in the deck. The value of each traded set increases for everyone as the game progresses. For example, the first set turned in, regardless of who trades it in, yields 4 new armies for that player. So then you place a mission card or other marker at the 4 on the board. The next set traded by any player grants 6 armies. The next grants 8, escalating the reward for all players uniformly. If you have 5 or 6 risk cards at the beginning of your turn, you must trade in at least 1 set and may trade in 2 if you can. Elimination and victory. If you defeat a player, you take all of their risk cards. If you end up with more than 5 cards, immediately turn in sets for extra armies. The game ends when all but 1 player has been eliminated. The last player holding on to territory is declared the winner. Was that too fast? Are you looking for the 2-player version? Or do you want to know some great Risk strategies? Check out my full video on everything you need to know about Risk. Just jump ahead to the 5-minute mark and enjoy.